Great. Right. So I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So hey everyone, I'm here with Alexis from HackerSploit, and we decided to actually do a sort of like a discussion. We're gonna call it. I think we're gonna call it a Cybertalk, and this we're probably gonna make a series out of it. And in this Cyber Talk, we're actually going to discuss or answer some of your questions. We're going to start with a couple of questions in this video. And then as we progress and do more videos, you're going to keep on, or you're going to be able to answer or ask us questions through a Google form. And we're going to tackle each of your questions. So if this is your first time here, I think the best way to go about it is to actually just have a few words, sort of an introduction for each of us. And I'm gonna start, I'm gonna actually take the lead. Yep. So I've been in InfoSec, so I'm kind of new to the InfoSec field, I would say, because I've only been doing this for like less than 2 years, sort of like 2 years. And my current main interest is in web application penetration testing. And to be more specific, not only penetration testing as a job in of itself, but also what I started doing most recently is bug hunting, which is really frustrating, but it's also really motivating at the same time. So maybe we'll get into that later on in the discussion. So without further ado, I'll let Alexis take the lead here.
Yeah. So thank you very much for introducing this this new series, and yeah. So getting into my background and what I've been doing lately. So first of all, I've been in the InfoSec industry for about 5 years, more specifically about 4 years professionally working as a network penetration tester. So that's primarily my area of focus and my expertise. In regards to what I've been doing lately, I've mostly been focusing on malware analysis, reverse engineering, and working with binaries in the Linux kernel, and sort of experimenting with assembly and C, and sort of working on the system or the kernel level. So that's primarily what I've been up to so far, and yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. Seems we're gonna be able to cover a larger area of questions, not only like web penetration testing, but also reverse engineering, and that's stuff really interesting that I want to go into at some point. But I think it requires a lot of effort, and it's like, to me actually right now it's intimidating. Okay, so why are we actually doing this type of cyber talk? So before we get into the questions, we want to actually set the motivation for why we're doing this. So first of all, on each of our Discord servers and on all social media, there are a lot of you guys who actually want to get into InfoSec and don't know how to start. So this is something that we're going to try to address with these cyber talks. There are at the same time a lot of questions, not necessarily beginner level, which are sort of more like technical, which require answer. And of course, there is a lot of beginner stuff. I mean, everybody wants to get into it, but in terms of materials for intermediate and advanced people, and in terms of questions and expertise, there's not much that has been addressed so far. So we'll probably want to get more into this and actually answer some of your questions, because maybe this first session is going to be more like general knowledge, more like covering, I don't know, a more abstract perspective of what we're going to do. But maybe in in future videos, we're going to become really specific and address like technical stuff. So like I said, we've posted a Google form where you can ask the questions, and we've posted this form onto our social media, I mean onto Discord, and there have been quite a few questions, and we've selected some of them for this first video. So the first one the first one asks, what is your favorite free tool for implementing the CI/CD pipeline to help the developers produce secure code? This is not giving you a load of false positives. So I'm actually gonna let you, Alexis, address this one because it's more like your area of expertise.
Yeah, so this is it's a fairly simple question with I think a straightforward answer. So for those of you who are new to what this is, CI/CD essentially stands for continuous integration and continuous development. It's sort of like a development workflow that is used by developers all around the world to again push or to essentially implement the methodology of continuous integration and continuous delivery. So continuous integration is the process of developing software where we have all developers working on the project they're able to merge their code into one central repository, and then they can view the changes that they've all made, and that's the whole idea behind that. Now, in regards to continuous delivery, again, this is just the process of automating builds and updates on a frequent basis. So you can set it up on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So again, it's just a development philosophy that, again, many developers nowadays use. And I'm guessing this is more in the question was more in tune with actually the actual free or open source tools that you can use this. And of course, to answer the question, one of the best tools that I think is available right now that is absolutely free is GitLab. And also Jenkins. So you can definitely check those two out. They also really help, with the implementation of security developers, because they're sort of able to view all the builds, the latest builds that are being pushed by devs, and the various code changes. So again, it's very, very straightforward implementing secure code using GitLab and Jenkins. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I wanted to say about that.
Okay, so I think it's the next question is a follow-up to this one, which says, what is your advice to help developers understand the need for security already in the development process?
Yeah, this has been a sort of a big question over the last 2 years, where you've seen the advent or the increase in the popularity of bug bounties. And sort of that's one approach that many companies have taken with their products, whether they be web apps or desktop applications. So just to give the audience a bit of a premise here, secure coding is essentially a development practice that involves developing applications with security in mind during the development process. And again, if you take the example of the earlier question, or the answer to the earlier question, you can see how that fits in with continuous integration and continuous deployment, or that type of philosophy. So again, the whole big question is the importance of security for developers, right? So, or rather the importance for that. So again, depending on the development philosophy that you choose to use, this can be looked at in sort of various ways. However, I'll explain why it's important nowadays, especially if you are considering using this or implementing secure code for your project. So first of all, there has been a huge increase in the number of software vulnerabilities and bugs that are being exploited. So again, if you take a look at these statistics, for every new web application or mobile app or desktop application, you're going to get a lot. The application is going to get scrutinized a whole lot more than than it was in previous years, and that's because, again, of the rise or the increase in the number of people getting into Infosec and actually testing out these pieces of software. So that's one of the importances of implementing secure code and why developers should take it seriously. Secondly, a large amount of these vulnerabilities are usually caused by mistakes during the development process or coding mistakes. So again, understanding that that there is a new aspect or a paradigm like secure coding will again help you prevent these common misconfigurations. So again, having a good understanding of secure coding practices for whatever languages or frameworks you plan to use, I think that's very, very important. And thirdly, it's much cheaper to integrate secure coding, or it's much cheaper to use secure coding as opposed to sort of a reactive approach to security where you fix bugs when they're reported instead of actually taking a look at them more closely and taking a look at the vulnerabilities within the development process. So again, it's much cheaper to approach security that way. So those are pretty much the 3 points I would point out to any developer who is interested in secure coding and is wondering why it's so important right now.
Awesome answer. So are you actually implementing or are you actually doing secure code review in your practice, like right now?
At the moment, not really. I was part of a team earlier on, I think in 2017, and that was primarily my job. But again, it's very new to developers because even when you take a look at these coding boot camps and wherever developers are learning right now, it's something that's rarely even touched upon or covered. And then, they want to work for startups and they develop an application that's like seriously vulnerable, and they're unaware of like common vulnerabilities with code, because these frameworks and languages do have inherent vulnerabilities and you need to actually ensure that you're developing around them. So yeah, it's something that's very, very, it's very new for developers, but again, it's increasingly important.
Yeah, I definitely concur. So even if you would look for materials on secure code review, there are like there's a scant. There are only few of them. I've been interested in secure coding myself, and there's from what I know or from what I found, there's at least one platform where you can learn this interactively, and that's I think it's Secure Code Warrior. But in terms of courses and stuff like that, or books, there aren't as many books on secure code or on developing code securely as there are, like, for example, for penetration testing or other some sort of different approach like the blue team type of stuff. So this is going to be an emerging field, and of course, there's going to be a lot of need for people to actually become not only developers actually learning how to securely develop code, but also people who can do code review in terms of security.
Yeah, and I think just adding on to that, I think it's also proven a point that we have hackers now, or InfoSec professionals, who are actually better at reviewing code for security vulnerabilities than developers themselves. And that's, again, why bug bounties are so popular now. They do a much better job than developers themselves. So yeah, it is a rising field in whatever platform you're talking about. So yeah, really, really a good field now.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So it says, I'm finding HackTheBox machines hard as I know what's the vulnerability, but I can't find a way into the system. How can I improve my skills to become able to access these machines? Okay, so for a lot of people just starting with HackTheBox, some of the machines might seem really hard, and the distribution, I think there are always at least 20 active machines on the platform that you can hack on without having a VIP or another type of subscription. So out of these 20 machines, maybe just a couple of them are really beginner. And if you don't know, or if you're just starting out with practicing like HackTheBox and similar platforms, it might be intimidating. And I assume that this fellow who asked the question might be in that situation. So I would actually say in this case that if you're finding the machines hard, you should probably take a step back And I would say that you could move away from HackTheBox for a little while. So you could move into machines from VulnHub, even though you'd have to install them and actually have them running on your system with VirtualBox or VMware, and actually take very easy machines from VulnHub, install them on your system, and try to approach those machines first. And if you're not able to actually approach those machines, since you have a lot of walkthroughs for machines on VulnHub, you should actually peek, but just a slight peek into the walkthrough, and then that if you're getting stuck, so that you can get unstuck and move forward. And try to do that for a couple of machines until you actually feel that you're learning something. Because whenever you're working on a machine, it's like a discovery process, especially if you're new to this. So you're actually probably going to learn a lot during the exploitation of those machines from VulnHub. So once you get a few machines on VulnHub, I would say that you could start moving into the machines from HackTheBox without any, for the free machines on HackTheBox, and try to approach the easier ones. And I'm more than positive that you'll be able to actually do better than the first time you approached them. Do you have something to add to this? To this question?
I think the whole idea, or we get a ton of these questions, especially much more over the last few months, because HackTheBox has got extremely popular. And for some reason, I think many students find themselves, really wanting to actually prove themselves on the platform, which is weird. They can be like 2 months in and they already feel the need to have serious skills there. So I think what's happening is it becomes very intimidating, which should not be the case, because HackTheBox, again, it might have boxes that, again, as you said, some are very simple, and then the actual increase in the skill level is something that you can't really predetermine. So you're more likely to get an easy box, you solve that box, and then you find, oh, let me move on to this one. And that one is extremely difficult, and that sort of throws you off. So again, just coming back to what you said, I think VulnHub is the best starting point for anyone who wants to get into this, because you can sort of control your environment and learning, so sort of the learning environment. So setting up your own labs, again, is great knowledge that I think everyone should have, first of all. And that will give you an idea of how to actually set up a proper virtualized environment. So, in the future, you can sort of expand on that. Secondly, as you pointed out, with VulnHub, you have tons of boxes. They're completely free. You can try them as many times as you want, whenever you want. And you can sort of control the skill level. So you can try out the easy ones, sort of build your methodology, see where you're making mistakes or where you have gaps in your knowledge. And then you can sort of build on from there and build a solid foundation, instead of jumping into HackTheBox without any knowledge, or with very little knowledge. So I think, there's very good points you pointed out. I think for anyone getting started, don't dive into HackTheBox immediately. Now, you could have a very good skill level, and that might be fine for you. But for, I think, beginners, start off with VulnHub, and then move your way up the ladder slowly, and you'll get there.
Yeah, so probably a lot of people might be tempted into jumping into HackTheBox because it's everything. It's an all-in-one platform or framework. You have the competition there. You have a lot of people there. You have everything in there. You have the IPs. You don't actually have to install anything. So that might be a good thing, and it also might be a bad thing, because if you're going to get to VulnHub, you actually have to take the machine yourself. You have to install VirtualBox or VMware, try to figure out how to build that virtualized environment. And in some situations, it's not as straightforward as it might seem, because there have been, I remember a particular scenario when it actually took me a couple of hours until I was able to finally get the machine up and running so I could start hacking into it. I've learned a lot along that process, which is a good thing. So that's something that you wouldn't have on HackTheBox, for example. But anyway, so the main point is that you could start with very easy machines on Vulnhub and then move from there towards HackTheBox. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which says, so the next question says, what are the best tools for web pen testing? Are they pre-installed in Kali Linux? Okay, so want to take this, Alexis?
Yeah, so I usually have just a list of tools. I'll just give you a simple list of the tools that I really enjoy using, or the tools that I always find myself using. The first one is, of course, going to be Burp Suite. It really doesn't matter whether you have the community edition or the professional edition. I think the pro edition just comes in handy when you're actually starting to get really into web app pen testing and essentially analyzing the application a whole lot more. The other tool I like using is Nikto, which is to actually test web applications for some common vulnerabilities. That's usually what it's very good for. And then, of course, when dealing with CMSs, then you have WordPress Scan and Joom Scan for Joomla. So again, this just helps you identify common misconfigurations and vulnerabilities within content management systems. They also give you additional functionality, like allowing you to sort of brute force. But again, that's something that will not be the case a majority of the time. Talking about brute forcing and word lists, I like using the sec lists, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with, that pretty much have everything that you need to get started and obviously to move on. As for the other tools, let's talk about fuzzing, because that's also something I'll get a lot of questions about. For that, I usually just stick to wfuzz or whatever you want to call it. That usually is very good at identifying various vulnerabilities, whether it's file inclusion and stuff like that. So that's what I use for fuzzing. And of course, when talking about auditing, I think Wapiti or one of those auditing frameworks, really in-depth frameworks that you can actually use to sort of understand the structure of the web application, how it was built, and to essentially audit the code. So those are usually the tools that I find myself coming to a lot. Now, I'm not into web app pen testing professionally, but those are the tools I find myself using a lot of the time.
Okay, so yeah, let me actually give my twist, like simplified on this one. So I should be really specific and talk only in terms of, let's say, bug bounties, since I've been doing, since I've recently started doing that. And for bug bounties, of course, my favorite as well is Burp, of course. But then again, right now, since I don't have too much expertise and I'm learning, I'm focusing a lot on the recon process. So in terms of the recon process, there are quite a few tools, but I'm only mention maybe a bunch of them because I don't know, there's way too many. And I've also started like developing my own. So I would say that some of the basic tools in bug bounty or in recon, in the recon process, are of course Sublister, Search. So I've seen that not too many people counterintuitively use, like, for example, Derb, or even Derbbuster, or even GoBuster, but they started using more like Searcher or Search, which is a really powerful tool for actually brute forcing web directories. And on top of that, there's this amazing tool by Nahamsack, which is called Lazy Recon. And it actually uses like a bunch of tools, maybe 10 or so, or 10 or 15 tools, and it automates a lot of the recon process. Of course, at points during this, when you get the output from the Lazy Recon, you actually have to go in there yourself and test manually. But I would say Lazy Recon is like good if you know what you're doing, or if you know what it does under the hood, because otherwise you wouldn't be learning anything. So I would say, to give a suggestion, that you should use Lazy Recon, for example, or a domain by Jason Haddix, but try to understand how these tools actually work, and then try to integrate yourself into the process and try to actually manually test, to double check, or to eliminate false positives. So yeah, these are kind of some of the tools that I'm actually using mostly right now. There are others, and I don't know, maybe we'll do a video specifically to that, if or about that, if you guys are interested.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay, so let's actually move to the last one. The last question from you guys. So it says, I have a bachelor's in computer science and I wish to pursue a master's in cybersecurity. How can I find a job in cybersecurity? So I don't actually quite understand the flow of this question, but let me see what I can actually make of it. So my twist would be that, so you have a bachelor's in computer science and you wish to pursue a master's degree. How can you find a job? So over other people that wish to do the same thing to find a job in cybersecurity, I would say that you have an advantage having graduated computer science, because there are a lot of people in cybersecurity, including myself, who do not have a computer science degree. So I have a master's in civil engineering, so it's constructions engineering. It's still a technical field, but it's totally different than computer science. So I would say that you have an advantage having graduated computer science, and it should be quite easy for you to start learning stuff such as, or start getting more advanced into stuff such as networking. And if you want to do, for example, pen testing, I would suggest, and I've been talking a lot about this in a couple of my videos recently, you should learn if you want to get into pen testing, you should learn about the penetration testing methodology, and then start practicing on platforms that we've just mentioned here, like Vulnhub and HackTheBox, which some of these platforms, I mean, just a couple of years ago, they have not been available. So if you would be wanting to learn something hands-on, it would be really difficult unless you would actually build your own site to test, or I don't know, test on live targets, which is never a good thing to do. So you have platforms such as HackTheBox, Vulnhub, and there are many others like TryHackMe, Attack Defense Labs, which I talked about in a couple of my videos. So that's how you should go about it. Decide. Decide what you want to do in the field of cybersecurity, like, for example, penetration testing. If you want to do penetration testing, learn the penetration testing methodology, start practicing, start having hands-on experience, and then to actually get closer to a job in the field, you should showcase, or you should actually showcase what you're doing on those platforms. Like, for example, if you're doing a machine on Vulnhub, after you've done it, you could actually write a walkthrough on Medium or some other platforms and post about it. And then that's how you actually show that you really did what you did. But you could also just copy some other people's walkthrough, but you're just kidding yourself, because when you're going to be in front of the interviewer, you won't be able to actually show your skills. So it's you have to be completely honest with yourself here. So as you actually interact, and as you post walkthroughs and interact with people in the field, there are a lot of opportunities right now. So to get a job in cybersecurity is much, I would say much easier than some people think, because there's a very big demand in the field right now, and there's a shortage of a workforce. So like job opportunities are all over the place, are on LinkedIn or on Discord or on Twitter, all the social media. I mean, maybe you could find jobs on Reddit, I don't know, on Stack Overflow, for example. And maybe we'll talk specifically about jobs in a future video. But the bottom line is that as you interact and as you know more people in the field, by interacting with them on different platforms, I'm really sure that opportunities will pop up if you're ready for them. Yeah, so that's my twist. Do you have something to add to this, Alexis?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you pointed out. In my personal opinion, I've actually worked with both. So people who had CS degrees beforehand and people who didn't have. And I can tell you, like, one thing's for sure: guys who have CS degrees usually like they've got the fundamentals down. Like you can talk to them about networking or Linux, and they really need to know very, very little more to actually get started. So I think that's one of the advantages of coming from a CS background, is you have a great knowledge of TCP, the OSI model, Linux, and working with operating systems, and also programming and scripting. So again, for them, I think picking up the fundamentals will be something very, very simple, relatively simple. And then, as you said, I think they need to get their hands dirty. So actually getting started with the pen testing workflows, just understanding the various stages of pen testing and then working through them. So I think that's very important. And then on a general level, I think they need to have an idea of what they actually want to do in cybersecurity. So whether they want to get into pen testing, web app pen testing, reverse engineering. So having just a general idea of that, so that they can sort of build their skill set around that. But I think you covered the points very, very well there. I think what I would say is, again, get your hands dirty, just experience what it's like. And of course, you will find what you like doing within cybersecurity, and then you can build your skill set on top of that.
Awesome. Okay. So I guess this is a wrap for today's discussion session, for today's cyber talk. And this was more sort of like a generalist or abstract or higher level. In future sessions, we will probably get into more technical stuff if you guys want that. So you'll not only have the form to ask questions in the description of this video, but you also have it posted on our Discord servers. So in future sessions, we might focus on stuff such as certifications, for example, or how to get jobs, which is a really hot question right now. And we could get more specific, like sort of like a timeline from newbie or from someone who wants to get into the field to actually get a job. And we could discuss pointers on this. We could also discuss about what you can do in cybersecurity, because this is a very large field, and there are a lot of specializations in cybersecurity. We could also talk about platforms that you can practice your skills and grow your skills. We'll also probably talk about courses, what books to read, and stuff like that. And we could also do some walkthroughs for challenges if this sounds interesting to you, Alexis. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I think it's we can cover a wide variety of topics here, and as you said, we can have some episodes focused on a particular topic, like certifications, jobs. So we can have episodes structured and tailored towards those type of questions. And again, we can sort of mix it up, focusing on more technical questions, walkthroughs, live sessions. So again, there's a huge scope as to what we can cover here, and it all depends on I think the feedback that you guys give us. So yeah, very, very exciting. We hope to make this a weekly affair, weekly episodes, and I think we can really have some good we can share some good knowledge here, and we can really improve I think the overall knowledge and of these particular audiences.
Awesome. Yeah. So guys, find the Google form where you can ask questions in the description of this video. And of course, you'll also find links to all of our social media stuff in the description of this video. And I guess that's a wrap for today's first episode. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot for watching. Again, if you have any comments or questions, you can post them in the comment section. And again, your questions, if you have any, can be posted in the Google Forms that you can find in the description. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Alexis, thank you. And cheer, guys.
Bye. Thanks a lot. And yeah, I'll be seeing you in the next episode.